We were really pleased and proud that President Clinton agreed to give us a name to our Leadership Institute here in Riddle Hall. It was a wonderful honour for the university, and we were very pleased to host the President here for the naming ceremony. So for that reason alone, I think it's appropriate that the next Clinton Summer School, President Clinton Summer School, should be run here in Riddle, in some sense as a follow-on from that. But actually there's a bigger reason. In Queen's, we like to see ourselves as an anchor institution in the city, and what we mean by that is that we've been here for over 160 years. We're one of the enduring institutions of the city. But from the point of view of the city, one of the things that an anchor institution brings is international connectivity. So these sorts of connections with international programs and networks for us is massively important. It's good for the university, it's good for the sort of intellectual environment of the university. It gives us a chance to let some people in international networks see what we're doing here in Queen's and in Belfast. So there's a whole lot of reasons why this is a really important development, and I hope we see the summer school here again in the future. Queen's has ambitions to be a truly international and global university. One of the things that we've always talked about has been very important to our mission is connecting the local and the global. It's using the best of global knowledge and global information and global experience, bringing it to bear on local issues, but also using the expertise we have and the understanding we have developed from our own interesting, almost unique local circumstances to inform big global questions and global problems. So that connection has always been very important to us, and is a key part of the way that we work. And these sorts of connections, these sorts of programs are ways in which those things can be brought together. I know looking at the participants in the program, they come from a range of really interesting countries. Some of these countries have had to deal with very difficult situations in the recent past. Northern Ireland, of course, has had to deal with very difficult history, and we're still struggling to deal with that. We can all learn from those sort of situations. One of the problems, if you live in a society that is divided and has a legacy of conflict and violence, is that it's very easy to get caught up in a sense that the problem is intractable, it can't be solved. So learning from other people's experience helps you to see your own situation through entirely different eyes, and I think that type of international experience, both ways, is massively important. One of the things which I think is important about the Northern Ireland experience is that our situation has changed. The situation here now is immeasurably better than it was 15 or 20 years ago. It's maybe not as good as we would like, it should be better, but it's immeasurably better than it was 15 or 20 years ago. And I think people from other places seeing that experience, seeing that level of change, I think is an important lesson for people to gain. And we can also gain from learning from other societies that are struggling with issues of diversity and difference for much longer periods of time, and us recognising that we're not unique, that there are these sorts of experiences have been had in other countries, and we can learn a massive amount from that. So it's the global and the local, connecting those two to everyone's benefit, and that's what we're, as a university, that's one of the key things that we're about, and this sort of programme is a perfect example of an attempt to try and bring those different experiences together. One of the things which has always been important in the last 20 or 30 years in Northern Ireland is what we have learned from international experience, international figures. For years, the conflict went on here. As I said, seemed to be intractable. It seemed to be just going on forever. But everything was very insular and inward-looking. And I have to say, I'm completely convinced that one of the key things that helped to promote change, positive change, was whenever the international community started to get involved in the situation and helping us. The role of the British and Irish governments was massively important. The role of the European Union was massively important. And the role of the United States, and in particular the role of President Clinton, was massively important. So all those international influences coming to bear in the situation helped to broaden the repertoire of what was possible here. It gave us a wider range of things to think about and to work with. And I think that was actually crucial to carrying us over the line in the peace process to the ceasefires and the political agreement and settlement and everything else that's come from that. So that type of international learning that type of international influence played a very, very important role. And I think one of the lessons that we've taken out of that is that it becomes even more important into the future that we continue to build those international networks and connections. It's good for the university, it's good for Northern Ireland, it's good for the city. That we bring all these people to here and we learn from their experience. It's also good that we get out there and have an opportunity to reflect on and to talk about our own experience and what we have learned from our own experience. So yes, I think this is a win-win situation for everyone, and so I'm really, really pleased that this particular programme is here, because it's yet another example of that type of international connectivity that in today's sort of digital world is hugely, hugely important. I was one of that generation from Northern Ireland who made a conscious decision to stay here rather than to leave during the worst of the years. And given my age, I'm part of that generation, or one of that generation that lost friends during the violence. I had some good friends that were killed by paramilitaries and others during the violence. But I was committed to stay and to do what I could, my own little modest contribution to try and make this a better place. I think the contribution, in the end, the contribution of international figures like President Clinton was absolutely central to moving this process on, breaking us out of the sort of the logjam we appeared to be in, and to convince the politicians to take those extra steps towards peace and to forge an agreement, to develop to get the ceasefires, to develop a peace settlement, to develop a system of shared governance. And it's been bumpy since then. But I think the fact that we were able to do that after such a long period of political violence, which itself was based on literally hundreds of years of historical antagonism, I think was a massively important demonstration that no situation is entirely irresolvable. And so I think that President Clinton is absolutely right. I think there is an inspiration for others to draw from that experience, because in many conflict situations, I know from doing work in other places, in many conflict situations, people, particularly ethnic conflict situations, people often believe that their situation is uniquely difficult, uniquely intractable. So when they hear about other situations where things have changed, people have managed to break out of those historical verities, then I think that is an important lesson for them. I mean, to be realistic, another lesson from the Northern Ireland experience is that once you end the violence and once you start to lay down the foundations for a new peace, it's still a difficult road, it's still a difficult journey, it's not as easy things don't go away quickly. But I think one of the things, again, that people can learn from our experience here in Northern Ireland is that if you have people of goodwill, people who are determined to create a shared future and a better future, then it is possible, slowly but surely, but inexorably, to make this a better place. It takes acts of will, it takes people to stand up and be counted, it takes people to actually make a stand for something better. This doesn't happen by accident. But those are the sort of things, those are the sort of people who inspire me to stay here and continue to do the work that I'm doing. And I hope those are the sort of people, the sort of experiences that will inspire others. And that Northern Ireland, which for years was symbolic of seemingly endless violence and instability, can truly become an inspiration and a model for the possibilities, the realities of peace in all countries around the world.